But a lot of the things that we do or that we see on BJJ Connect that people are utilizing is kind of the we call the My Training feature, which is basically you can log in all your training. You can check into your academy, record your attendance. I came to no-gi this day, gi this day. I did 4 rounds. I got submitted twice, or I did 3 sweeps. We give you like that data so you can kind of view and see like the progress of your jiu-jitsu if that's something you really want to look at. And especially when you look at high-level guys and people who want to take jiu-jitsu to that next step, where you have to kind of look back at yourself and really say, okay, cool, how is my jiu-jitsu? What is it right now? How can I improve it? People like to see that, right? They like to see, am I getting submitted less in training? Am I hitting the sweeps that I want to hit? Am I submitting more people? Maybe last month I only was able to do 4 rounds in a session, but now I can do 6. My cardio is going up.
What is up, friends? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. Guess what? We are back here at Milton Arguello's Mixed Martial Arts Academy, a place where I teach. If you want to come check me out Mondays, I'm here. I'm also doing privates. You guys know the deal. Although it would be so dope if somebody saw this and they heard me say, oh, he does privates. I'd be like, yeah, and maybe I'll interview you at the end. Or I'll give you some really cool bonus content at the end of that. Why are we here today? Well, because when you get a guest that's nice enough to make the trek from the 57 on, then you should really be thankful. So we're going to get to him in a second. But before we do, a couple quick reminders. One, if you want to support this show, go on over to HY.PAGE/Grappling Hour and become somebody who gets early access to these interviews. That means you see them 30 days before anybody else. And if you really want to support the show, you can pay a few extra dollars for what we call our premium tier. On our premium tier, you get to see fun things like extra episodes that aren't available anywhere else. We do special serialized episodes where we ask athletes about their thoughts on steroids. We've done athletes that they respect the most. We've done a lot of really cool things. You also get to see a little bit of my training, which nobody else really gets to see. And you may get to see even bits where when I go to compete, maybe funny things happen to me. We have a segment where some of our friends roast my competition footage because it's funny. I don't think they're really super great matches, but I think they're worth making fun of myself. All right, here's what we got. Our guest today. He impressed me first through his love of Alien versus Predator. When I was setting up a game feature over at Subversive, I left a video game, old school arcade game out for people. I learned a lot about this gentleman. 1, I didn't know he was that into sci-fi. 2, when I found out he was into sci-fi, I saw how remarkably chill he was before he was about to embark upon a combat jiu-jitsu match. And as somebody who's a little bit early into their competitive career, I was amazed at how relaxed he was playing this video game, and it made me very happy. He had a great match there. He also has a great series of matches. He's training over at AOJ, so the techniques are going to be quite good, but he also has a business in jiu-jitsu that I wanted to get to know a little bit better, and I hope that you guys too. So please welcome for the very first time on this show, NOAH CHEN. Noah, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Appreciate you for coming. I'm doing very well, man. So we talked about this in person there, but you were telling me this, and you've had more time to think about it, but I would like it answered now for the people here. Why Alien? Why Predator? Why are you playing this game? Like, what made you want to play that game specifically? Because there's 1,000 games plus on that console. What made you want to play that game, sir?
Well, it was kind of pre-prep for the match, walking around, just kind of finding things to do, get my mind off everything, chill out. And first what attracted me was the old school style gaming setup. My dad has like a similar setup at home. So I was like, okay, this is something I can work with. I like this kind of stuff. Sat down, loaded it up, and the first thing that actually popped up was the Alien versus Predator. I think because it was like in chronological order, just A to Z. And I mean, I loved Alien movies, the Predator movies. I watched all of them when I was a kid. Me and my dad and brother geeked out over them. And I was like, oh, well, I've never actually played a game about them, on kind of like that retro style. So I was like, all right, let me load this up. And it was super fun. Like you said, right, just kind of kept me chill. I was actually kind of getting like a little bit too into it. I was like, all right, I gotta be here in 2 months. I'm about to miss my match. But yeah, no, it was dope. Kind of a cool way just to relax and take the mind off just the stresses of the combat jiu-jitsu match. With that extra combat aspect coming into it. But yeah, no, it was a great game. Obviously, a really sick setup. So thanks for letting me play, man.
Hey, that's the easiest thing in the world. I put it out like trapped bait, and when I saw you doing it, I go, isn't he supposed to be competing pretty soon?
Like, fell for it.
I meant it to be more for our folks who were like going to visit the booths, or people who were just like maybe not competing but needed something to do. So when I saw you were there, I go, well, this is a direct hit. So this is good. And I was very happy for you. We made very short conversation about it. And I was just very, very enthralled with how much it seemed to match your level of like, hey, man, this is kind of what I want to do before I have a match. I should ask, though, was this your first combat jiu-jitsu experience?
Yes. Yeah, it was the very first time I've ever done this rule set, with the open-handed strikes added into it. A little nerve-wracking, right? I've only done jiu-jitsu. I know a lot of MMA guys, and obviously, that world is a lot different, when you add in the strikes, the kicking and stuff. And even though this is only open-handed, you can still hit someone pretty hard, with the palm of your hand, right? So first time doing it, but honestly, I loved it. It was a great experience for me.
What made you want to do it? Because I don't know if you caught this, but the gentleman who was sitting over here before we started this, I had mentioned to you, he's our enforcer, if you would. But he and I have always had mutual respect for each other. He's a really good Muay Thai guy, but normally on an open mat, I'm over here, he's over there. So we don't merge paths.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's like, oh, I don't want to train with him. It's just like, hey, he's over there, I'm over there. But I'm the world's most friendly grappler when it comes to, hey, if you want to come over here and roll with me, everybody can come roll. It's totally cool. Today he does this. He's like, Raph, we're going to roll. I was like, great, sounds good. He goes, and then you're going to do Muay Thai with me. And I was like, no,
I don't want to do that.
Hard pass. And he goes, no, I'm going to make you do it. And I go, well, if we're doing grappling first, I don't think you will. But if we're doing Muay Thai first, I think I'm probably not doing the grappling after. So you're just softening me up.
Yeah.
So it's not something that everybody chooses to do.
Definitely.
What made you want to do it?
Honestly, having done jiu-jitsu for so long, I'm going on my 14th year of doing it. And starting originally at like a jiu-jitsu / MMA school, there was always that kind of element of like, really getting into an actual fight with someone and kind of testing yourself, when the strikes, the kicks, and everything else is added in. So when the opportunity kind of finally came, I was like, well, this is kind of close. I'll still get a little bit of striking in. It won't be the full-fledged thing, but I've never had that experience of actually being like willingly hit by someone. I've never been in a school fight or had beef with anybody to get to that point. So I was like, well, I'm always up for a challenge. I especially think, when you're trying to be a high-level athlete and have a high-level career, if there's an opportunity that comes your way that brings more exposure to you, and will help you just show off whatever you're practicing, right? Jiu-jitsu in this case, you should take it. Especially when you have a stage like Subversive, right? There's tons of people watching, cameras on you, content being made. So I was like, yeah, hell yeah, let me hop on this. Let me get some strikes going. Practice that with my homies, and see what happens.
Would you like to know some information?
Yeah, sure.
I have some privileged information as one of the guys behind the scenes of Subversive. So I recently did an interview with Anthony.
Okay.
Okay.
Great guy.
This is remarkable that you could say this about somebody. I've had matches with people that I'm like, I am less than enthralled with this dude, and they did not involve combat.
Yeah.
So it's a high level for dudes to be like, oh, that dude slapped me in the face. That's my bro. I like that guy. But Anthony is a very lovable person. When I saw that you guys were paired, I was like, well, I really like him and I really like you. Good luck, boys. Let's see how it goes. He told me this, and I think you know at least the half of it. But he goes, I've had 11 fights. I've never bled my own blood. NOAH CHEN made me bleed my own blood. Oh, and I was like, oh. And so he's telling me, he's like, dude, he was tough. It was a good match. I knew that I would be in for it. He has a very good pedigree to what he does, but I wanted to go out there and have a fun match. And to the point where after that match, he was like, ooh, my hand hurts a little bit. So he goes, I'm not going to be slapping the next dude. So he had to make an abrupt switch of being like, all right, cool. I was ready to do this and all that. So he had nothing but compliments to say about you. And I wonder now, hearing this information, one, what is your reaction to it? And two, do you think you see yourself doing more combat jiu-jitsu experiences? Because he and I said this about you, which was you had that moment that jiu-jitsu practitioners have who do combat for the first time, who are pretty good at jiu-jitsu, who look at their hands and are like, oh, I can use this. And like, we all very clearly saw it with you. Yeah. So having said all of those things, one, what's your response? And two, is there more combat jiu-jitsu in the future for you?
I mean, obviously it's a little bit surprising to hear, right? Especially with MMA guys, it's kind of normal, right, to just see them oozing out blood and, the other guy's blood as well. So, it's kind of makes me feel a little good. But, same thing for Anthony. I mean, that dude he's a dog, right? I believe he's a blue belt. Obviously he focuses on MMA, but he took the match against a guy who, myself, I do purely jiu-jitsu. And, I was trying to work the leg locks on him and get him on areas that he wasn't comfortable with. And, he did a great job defending. Obviously he ended up winning the match by 2 seconds on the overtime. Making it very close. But, we follow each other on Instagram now. He likes my stuff. I like his stuff. We said thank you to each other after the match. We even took a picture together. It was a great experience. I mean, I think he was probably the perfect guy to have that first combat jiu-jitsu match, with, again, mainly MMA guy, me, mainly jiu-jitsu guy, so I have to work on my striking. He has to work on his grappling. I think that merged beautifully in the match. So, thank you, Anthony, for the confidence, man. Really appreciate it. He's a great guy as well.
I'm really glad to hear that again, because it's so nice whenever we get two people that we really enjoy. And when you're producing stuff behind the scenes, people don't always know this, but like some athletes are not easy to work with, or some people are easy to work with and don't give you a good match.
Yeah.
You guys were both easy to work with and gave us a great match. And I try to look out for those people. Like I try to be like, all right, let's keep an eye on him. Like that's pretty dope. What was good to me was I knew after I saw that match, I was like, this made good on the guy that I met at that video game. When I already was familiar with your jiu-jitsu work and was like, no, he's good, but this is something a little extra where I go, oh, okay. So not clear on the jiu-jitsu for combat side, but does that mean any MMA in the future? Is that something that you had ever thought about? Because here's the issue. You've been doing this for 14 years.
Yeah, definitely.
So for you, this is old hat. And I don't know if this stays interesting to somebody like you where you go, yeah, maybe I got a taste of it. I don't know. I got that diet MMA. Is that something that's ever crossed your path or your brain?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would love to do combat jiu-jitsu again. I think it was a great experience, and I'm definitely interested in, optimizing my game more for that rule set. I mean, you see the combat jiu-jitsu worlds, right, run by Eddie Bravo, and, they make a pretty penny, right, when they win. So, and it's exciting, right? When you add that element in, it just makes the match more watchable for the viewers. So, yeah, I'd love to get more combat jiu-jitsu matches in. And then in the MMA realm, I mean, I've always wanted to get at least one or a couple fights just to really test myself and kind of see, okay, cool. Everybody always talks about jiu-jitsu and how great it is and, the self-defense aspects. But, I think there was like a saying, I can't remember who said it, but it was like, you throw a black belt in a fight and they get punched once, they turn into a brown belt, punch them twice, turn into a purple belt, and, so forth. So, Yeah, honestly, I would love to get a fight or two in. I don't know if it's going to be UFC level getting to that, but, try it out, see how I do. And I think just take that experience as, things I need to work on for my jiu-jitsu, and, the actual practicality of it.
It's very cool to hear because to me, I do my best to try and keep jiu-jitsu people in jiu-jitsu. So like, I'm talking like all the way back to Hidalgo or Lovato when they're like, I think I gotta go to MMA. And I was like, please don't. I want you. I have so much more to learn from you. Yeah. Don't go there. And then if you ever see your jiu-jitsu heroes lose, I was at ADCC trials photographing when Jacare lost a really prominent match, which to me basically was, I don't think he's going to get another shot at the title after that. And I had that moment that I described as the scene from La Bamba where he just yells out, Richie, like after he dies. And it was like, that was me with Jacare, like, Jacare, no. And people were like, why are you so, and I go, because I'm trying to root for the jiu-jitsu guy. But it sounds like you're not saying like, I'm going to parlay this into a MMA career as much as I want to test the limits of what jiu-jitsu does to even that degree. Exactly. So it's nice to know that you're doing it in that realm of like, no, I just want to see. And then, from there, you can make whatever decision you want. I just could tell that when you do it for 14 years, there's always a possibility. And I do like to try and encourage people on this, which is if you're young, explore it sooner than later. But if you don't want to do it, I am not the guy who's ever going to tell you like, you need to do this. It's just me being like, hey man, Ghost of Christmas Future is here. It definitely is not fun to do in the future in terms of that, because I don't do any form of real like MMA. I train different facets. So I'll train striking, I'll train jiu-jitsu, I'll train wrestling. But I also recognize I'm like, that's never been a bone in my body. And when people are like, oh, well, how do you know? And I go, it's just if I wanted to do it, I would have done it. I like this because these are puzzles and I work with my friends and I get to meet new people as a result of it. And as a host for this type of style of combat, for grappling, you tend to learn more about people when you train with them. So a little bit later, you and I will get to train, which is great. But I always like to throw that out there because conversation's one thing, but conversation is something that I feel I'm pretty good at. To be able to speak your language is harder for me, but then I learn more about you. And then it's being able to merge those two and being able to tell better stories the more that I learn. Okay. So that's why I'm always like, oh, okay, if it works, all good, no big deal. But very cool to hear. All right, Subversive, glad to hear it was a great experience. I want to get to know, where does jiu-jitsu find itself for you? Because you're mentioning 14 years. Like, how old are you right now?
I just turned 24 last week.
Okay, great. So when you sit here being like, yeah, I'm a grizzled old vet. I've been doing this for half my life. Right. When you're telling me like it's been a long 14 years, I'm like, kid, you don't even, I've got books that are older than you. So when I say those things, I wonder, where does jiu-jitsu begin for you at the age of 10, sir?
Well, before that, I actually did karate for a couple of years. And it got to a point where I kind of realized this stuff was just more kind of just an outlet just to get the energy out, and something my parents wanted me to do, just so they could maybe do other things and, not have me and my brother annoying them up their necks all day. But I mean, growing up, I was very athletic. My parents put me into a lot of sports. I like doing sports, but none of them ever really satisfied me in terms of just what I was doing. Like I would do football, basketball, soccer, and it was fun. It was cool to get a sweat in and just do that with the team. But I would always question myself at the end of the day, like, what is the point of this? You're like, I'm just kicking a ball around or throwing something around, and then a jiu-jitsu school opened down the street from us, super close, like 5 minutes, and it was an affiliate. It's called Sequence Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm originally from Fontana, California. So they opened a Fontana location at the YMC Center that's kind of near our house. And my dad, he's a Marine veteran, and he was like, well, boys, you're getting a little bit older, and you might, bullying is a real thing, or there might be assholes at school. So if you ever get into something, you should probably know how to defend yourself, at least to some degree. And obviously, the karate really didn't work out too much. We're not really hitting boards in grade school, so kind of threw us in. I think probably when they first threw us in, it was just more me and my brother just to kind of learn something, know how to maybe take a punch or, just not get taken down or just kind of hold our own, right? And I remember the first week was probably the most grueling thing I'd ever done at that point. Like, I was getting just smacked around by like 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, girls, boys, and being kind of like an athletic person and a bit of a prideful person, I was like, wow, I really suck at this. Like, this is, other things I can kind of grasp on, but I feel like so lost doing this. So kind of my first motivation to keep doing it was I just wanted to beat the other people that I was training with, the other kids, and kind of feel good about myself. Like, oh, okay, I'm the best, But as the months kind of grew on, I actually competed within the first 6 months of doing jiu-jitsu at NOAH in Vegas. And I ended up winning. I won the sword that was like bigger than me at the time. So I was like, oh, okay, I think I got a little bit of a knack for this. This is pretty cool. Got my own sword. And so it kind of just developed into, that passion, right? Like I started actually really enjoying the technique aspect of it, not just being brutal with it and the learning and, the history of it all. And so, I was at Sequence Jiu-Jitsu for 7 years. I would train both at the Fontana location and the headquarters in Norco. And then after that, basically right when I graduated high school, I got my purple belt. My brother also got his purple belt as well. We've both been training the same amount of time. I got into UCSD, decided to go there for college. So moved out there, was obviously a little bummed that I couldn't stay with my home team. But I just knew it was a part of the process, right? Wherever I go, I'm just more interested in learning, getting better and, testing myself. And then to add to that, I would honestly, my parents, they put up with a lot for the competitions, for the training, driving us there. So, a huge thank you to them for that, for supporting me, to do jiu-jitsu. But I made it to college, joined the Clark Gracie team, Gracie Allegiance out there. And it was kind of cool, to actually train under someone with a notable background in jiu-jitsu, the omoplata guy, the original jiu-jitsu meme guy. It was great, training with Clark, being alongside him for competitions, kind of, picking his brain. So I trained with him for 5 years, got my brown belt from him in June of 2021. And then graduated college, kind of spent one more year in San Diego, just kind of figuring out where I was going to go, if I wanted to stay. Eventually moved out to Irvine, California. Actually, it's been just about a year now, August of 2022, whatever the year is. And so my girlfriend, she goes to law school, UCI, so the move just kind of made sense for us. And, kind of realized AOJ was, less than 20 minutes away, 15 minutes. And, as most people, right, you've heard of the Menace brothers, you've probably been studying them when you first started jiu-jitsu. I incorporated a lot of their game. I always thought they were like the most beautiful rendition of jiu-jitsu when they would compete. So to kind of see like, oh, wow, I can actually go and sign up and like train with these guys and everyone that they're always talking about on social media. Joined AOJ, was very much put through a gauntlet of just never ending people coming for me. I'm a brown belt just kind of coming in, bit of a bigger guy too. And it was also a very humbling experience. Kind of felt like a bit of a reset in my jiu-jitsu. I thought I was already pretty good at Clark's. I was having some good competition success, winning some IBJJF stuff. And then got to AOJ and kind of really saw what that high level jiu-jitsu is, right? When you have, just a plethora of high level guys, Tynan, Cole, Jonathan, Pablo, the list goes on at that academy. And, kind of was humble about it. I was like, all right, I know that I'm probably going to get my ass beat here, but I need to take it as, if I really want to be a competitor in this sport and if I really want to make jiu-jitsu career, then this is the change and the stuff that, I need to improve my jiu-jitsu. So the first 6 months were pretty brutal. Again, like a reset, just kind of rethinking everything that I knew, how to incorporate it with their game and the stuff that I already like to do. But it was worth it. And now, I feel pretty integrated into the AOJ system as well as what I like to do with my own jiu-jitsu techniques. And here we are competing, as much as possible, repping the team. And it's been just a great transition so far.
That does clear up a lot. Okay, we're gonna compartmentalize some of those things. But I want to say it's hard for me to always know for sure when somebody gets onto my radar, but I want to say you kind of were on my radar around the time you were with Clark. because I have a couple friends who I see that train there. And you know, when you just get in your Instagram bubble and you just see the same people over and over again, and you're like, okay, cool. And then in the background, there are the people who then become people who you're like, oh, I've seen you. You're the guy in the background. Oh shit, you're really good. So then to see you make that progression, like Clark Gracie's a really good structure.
Oh yeah.
But then
100%.
knowing like, okay, the Mendes brothers are a very different structure, but very good. So that if you are a competitor, that's a very good place to be.
Definitely.
So I think you're being extra kind and being like, oh, I'm going to go get humble. Bro, I don't even want to wear a belt when I go there. I just want to be like, yeah, I just started jiu-jitsu last week.
Yeah,
like, nope. Never done this before.
Yeah.
They're like, Rap, don't you have a purple belt? Not to my recollection.
Not here.
Nope.
Now, yeah.
Because, you know, I've talked with them. I've never done a full interview with them, but very kind personally with me. But to me, as a fan of their work, obviously, you have seen their minions go out and just be these forces.
Yeah.
And so now I'm sure to be on the other side with them has to be so cool and so wonderful to see and learn from that structure. Let's go back real quick. I didn't have a brother who did jiu-jitsu. How much older, younger is your brother from you?
So he's 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
So, you know, pretty near in age. And yeah, like I said, you know, we both started at the same time. And he still, you know, trains, competes to this day. But I've kind of taken on more of the professional competition aspect of it, you know, making it my career. He's definitely more of the brains, you know, of the operation of the family. He double majored at UC Berkeley. He's currently about to get into law school. And, you know, he still trains for the hobby of it. But yeah, like I said, you know, we've been training at the same time.
Let me see if I'm getting this right. You're going to be surrounded by lawyers then. So between your
Seems
girlfriend and your brother,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So there's not any pressure here to be like, you thinking about it? You should we're all doing it.
Yeah. Well, I did go to college and majored in political science. I actually had the lawyer route on my mind. Maybe my brother kind of took that up since I never did it. But yeah, basically just like you said, you know, kind of got the lawyers all around me. So
because here's the little secret. For years, my dad tried pulling this with me. And he'd be like, son, if you want to go, let's go, I'll pay for it. I was like, okay, I don't. And he goes, but you like arguing with people. And I was like, not really. And, you know, I competed in speech and debate and got a scholarship for that. He emphasized more the debate part and I did more of the speech part. So he was like, well, you like arguing with people. And I'm like, no, I like presenting an idea or performing or doing things. And he's like, no, that's a natural thing. You're a lawyer. It's the next thing. And he goes, the worst card that he could play was, he goes, what's your best event in speech? And I was like, persuasion. And he's like, so why not lawyer? And I go, because hard work and I don't want to, and you really have to want to. And he's just like, so this would come up for years. I'm talking from before I was in college to after college to many years past college. Like, you still don't want to be a lawyer? And I'm like, Dad, we've cleared this hurdle. It's just not happening. And cut to my now wife, then girlfriend, being like, are you sure we don't want you to be a lawyer? And I was like, you don't get a vote in this. Like, you can go to law school on his dime if you want. But I always thought it was a very nice gesture. But I think I understand where you're coming from in the, sounds great. Go enjoy it. Yup. Endorse you guys.
Exactly.
I'm going to be doing this jiu-jitsu thing and I'm going to keep riding this train.
Yep.
What has been the best benefit of having a brother do jiu-jitsu? Because the best I have on my side, I have two sisters, one of whom is 10 years older than me, and she photographs with me.
Okay.
And there was a wonderful day where, even though she doesn't do the sport, she would come and do MMA or jiu-jitsu photography. And she came up to me at one event and just goes, I get why you do this. Like, I get why this matters to you. After photographing it, it all clicks now. And I thought that was like such a pivotal moment for me, because I go, oh my God, she gets why this is so cool, or why you would want to spend so much time doing it. I never had the benefit of, oh, this is a family member who's with me on this journey. Yeah. So what was one of the best things about having a brother from the get-go to join you on that journey?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the best thing, you know, me and my brother are very close. You know, we're best friends with each other. We talk all the time. But for the jiu-jitsu aspect, I mean, just having another person who you can kind of always count on to help you out with the technique, to roll with, like, you're never gonna have to stumble around somewhere and like look for a roll. I always have my brother there for those kind of 7 years that we were training together at Sequence. And I would tell people too, and this is still very true to this day. Like, he's one of the most hardest people that I roll with, just because we've been training for so long at the same place. We know each other's game. He's a lot more unorthodox, kind of just flying all over the place. I'm very much more controlled, kind of taking the technique of things and, kind of progressing his position. So I always knew that if I really wanted to test myself, I need to go against my brother and kind of see how it works. So I think that was the biggest benefit, just kind of the obviously brotherly competitiveness of it. Oh, I won this time. Oh, I won this time. And, we would both catch each other. But yeah, just always having someone who could actually understand the things that I felt about jiu-jitsu, the competition losses. We competed against alongside each other for years on end. So, if he lost, I was always there. If I lost, he was always there. We could always review our techniques together, roll with each other whenever we wanted to, very much on the carpet, of our parents' home. So yeah, it was just amazing to have someone as family who could understand my love for that, my passion for that, and who still does to this day, right? I'd actually just trained with him last month. He's back home for a little bit. So it's always just a great bonding experience with my brother to be able to do jiu-jitsu with him.
Okay, I have to try and pick one thing apart here. I have a clarifying question on this. You refer to him as the brains. Now, this is difficult for me because I don't consider you a dumb grappler. So then you mention right now, and I was like, okay, well, let's find out more about your dynamic together. And you're like, well, he flies around a little bit more and I'm more controlled. And I go, right, that's why I thought you don't roll dumb.
Yeah.
So where does the brains get incorporated? Obviously, he's very smart. If he is doing law school, you got to be kind of bright to at least make it in that. Part one. Part two, to be crafty and know how to do things, it does require a certain level of intelligence. I need you to understand that when you sell yourself like that, I'm like, I don't know that I believe you. I don't know that I can take that journey with you.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see him more as a brains just because of the maybe the trajectory of his career and kind of the things that he's done. I mean, he's a very gifted musician as well. And I mean, as most people know, musicians are, you have to be very intelligent like that. He knows how to read music. He played the cello. That was his main instrument of choice. He taught himself how to play the piano. Again, he was, double majored at Berkeley, graduated in 3 years, going on the lawyer route. For me, I played the clarinet for a couple of years, hated it. It was the worst thing. And I kind of more excelled at the more physical aspects of the jiu-jitsu, right? I like to work out a lot. I like to keep myself in shape. He's doesn't like to go to the gym as much, but he'll do jiu-jitsu. For the trajectory of my career, instead of really pursuing something with my degree out of college, I decided to choose the, jiu-jitsu lifestyle, competitor way of things. But I've always just felt like he's just, in his brain, he's just super smart, just a very talented kid. Whatever he puts his mind to, he's gonna go far. And then I see myself more as kind of like the physical aspect of that, with the jiu-jitsu, taking that on, like putting my body as my career. And obviously kind of being smart with that, right? I do like to be smart with my role.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm glad we got to this part. Yes. I felt like this was the part in therapy that was like, okay, we made a breakthrough. Yeah, okay, good. Definitely. Because up until there, you're like, well, he's really smart and, double major, taught himself how to play piano. And I was like, boo, brother. Really not a fan of that.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that for me I'm a big tape study guy. So a lot of the times I will watch my roll tape and just be like, all right, I didn't like this today, or, I like this, or how did I do this? Or how did they do this? So I break that apart. Being able to geek out with a brother who I'm sure has that kind of same ability to speak that language with you has to be cool. And I think that's probably something that you've had, especially when you mentioned that together you would compete and then be able to be there for each other. I'm going to assume part of that is like a tape study or like a working off of like, hey, I noticed this when you were competing.
Yeah,
let's try and fix that. And I think that helped to fast track you to a higher competitive level at a much quicker rate.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you pretty much put it, perfectly. Whenever we compete, if he lost, obviously I'd be there trying to, coach him for his matches. And then after that, we'd go back, we'd practice what we did wrong, what we did right, test it out in the sparring, at the academy later on that week or whatever. It's obviously amazing to have someone, as a family member, and someone who can train with whenever I want. And, the same thing for him. He would point out, there's just, he has his own game, right? Very unorthodox, does a lot of crazy stuff. I'm a bit more controlled. So we see things in each other, right? Like, oh, maybe you should try this, or you should try this, Addison. That's his name. Addison's my brother. And so, yeah, that's kind of, I think the best part about it, right? Is actually seeing someone really understand your game. And, they're also a family member. They're also a brother. So they can give you that honest advice. Hey, man, you kind of suck. You should maybe fix this. Or, hey, you should work on your top game. Or
I would hope that the brains of this operation has a better way of communicating and be like, yo, bro, you suck today. Thanks, man. Way to be super smart and detailed in your description. But okay. That's super cool. That's understanding.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he's able to do it. Probably, I'm sure if I'm leading here, you can tell me. But when you're doing something as strenuous as law school, I know jiu-jitsu for me is usually a big escapism. Like it's a great way to get your brain off of the intenseness that is that
definitely
that compactness. So I'm sure that's very helpful for him. Having said that, why does then jiu-jitsu become a love for you? Because clearly your family introduced this sport, this love to you to burn energy and to give you good morals and to make sure you can protect yourself. So a lot of additives come at that early stage. But I always love to ask people, when did the love of jiu-jitsu really take hold? Because when did you know you fell in love with it? For this, you can do it, but to pursue it as a career means you have to love it. When did you know that happened?
Yeah. I would say for me, it honestly, since I started at such a young age, 10 years old, and, again, I've been doing it for 14 years now, it did come into a point where it just became like a normal part of my life, where I knew, okay, cool. I had to go to training, I had to go to school, I had to do my homework, work my job, whatever, come home. And I think when I really realized that it was like the true passion I wanted to pursue was the junior year of me being at college. Just kind of trying to figure out, like, I like political science, I like learning about politics and whatever, but, I just can't see myself being in a cubicle or just sorting through papers and just doing that stuff for the rest of my foreseeable life. I'll keep up with it on Twitter or Google, but that's about as much as it really interests me. And, I was already 3 years deep into it and I was kind of finishing my major at that point. So I was like, well, it's not too much time to kind of figure out what my career is going to be. So I was just kind of reviewing myself and my life. And, I saw like, well, I do jiu-jitsu all the time. I think I'm pretty good at it. Like I do pretty well with competitions. And, as cliche as it is, right, everybody wants to live that jiu-jitsu lifestyle and kind of just do jiu-jitsu forever. But my parents raised me right and they raised me smart to be like, it's just because you love doing jiu-jitsu doesn't mean jiu-jitsu is going to love you, especially as a career, especially in today's world, right? Money runs the world. And if you're not making money, especially with jiu-jitsu, that's a very hard thing to do. So I was like, okay, well, not only has this jiu-jitsu been alongside me for most of my life at this point, it is something I love. I can't see myself not doing it, no matter if I'm 90 years old or 40 years old, right? Like I'm always going to be training every day. I'm just addicted to it and I want to keep learning and I want to keep bettering myself. So I was like, well, okay, now I need to figure out how am I going to monetize this? How am I going to actually do this to a degree where, I can train as much as I want, especially with whatever odd jobs I was doing at that point, which also demand, a good amount of your time, especially when you need to make money to live and to buy food for yourself as a college student. So I was just kind of figuring things out, just thinking of ideas. Obviously competition is really not the best way to make money in jiu-jitsu unless you're like the best of the best, because not too many tournaments paid, especially back then. Obviously, that's kind of gotten a bit more accessible now. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can create something with the jiu-jitsu that I was already doing. And luckily, that kind of came into the form of the business that I actually run myself now, called BJJ Link. Something I started with my two buddies at Clark Gracie, Santiago Amaral and Alan Bang. It was actually Santiago's idea to kind of make a platform for people who do jiu-jitsu. He was kind of tired of being on Instagram and Facebook all day and seeing things that he just didn't care about. And he was pretty obsessed with jiu-jitsu. He was like, I just want to see jiu-jitsu. He's like, I don't want to see anything else. Like, the world's too messed up right now. Like, I don't care about anything else. And I'm like, okay. And he kind of told me, he was like, hey, you're a young guy. He was in his 30s at that point. And he was like, you want to help me kind of test this thing out? And I was like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. I probably don't got to have anything better to do with my time. So he was kind of running some ideas by me. We were kind of testing some things out, and I was kind of seeing his vision. And he brought Alan along to kind of help us just kind of market it. And I was like, I think there's a real thing here that I can actually maybe have a business with this and kind of see where it goes and maybe make some money with this. So, I decided, all right, I'm going to dedicate myself to this. This is something that I think is very worthwhile. It's going to go alongside with my training. I think that was the best part of the time, right? I can keep doing my jiu-jitsu, and if this is a job, well, it's also jiu-jitsu too. And so, kind of now into 2023, we have a full-fledged company called BJJ Link.
All right, let's get into it, because I've seen it go up. And how do I put this? The name of it is very close to this organization that is out on the East Coast. And they attracted me because I think they do their jiu-jitsu competitions at a bar or something like that. And as somebody who enjoys beer, I'm always like, who are you? Beer and I will be there. How do you do that? So I always try to keep an eye on those things. But it's a letter off. But for every time I would see them and I'd be like, BJJ Link. Okay, I don't know what you are. Okay, great. Yeah. BJJ, and I go, what is that? And I started merging the two, and I go, all right, I see you guys putting out content a lot, but I want to know more about it. So obviously we got the why and what made you put it together. And obviously the why behind why this over, say, maybe Instagram, because any one of us who use Instagram knows sometimes to get through the techniques or the wonderful dog videos that you're really looking for, you got to go through a whole bunch of other BS. Yeah. And as somebody who's made BS, I know there's some stuff that I create that people will sometimes, the internet will let you know, we like this, we don't like this. And you go, all right, whatever. Having said that, you're creating something specifically for jiu-jitsu people. What is it?
Yeah, so BJJ Link, we call ourselves the jiu-jitsu ecosystem. We like to say that we encompass all aspects of jiu-jitsu, and we kind of divide ourselves into 3 platforms. The very first one that we started, that we created right when I kind of joined on in 2018, that's when we first started the name BJJ Link, was BJJ Link Connect. Now, Connect is basically, you mix together Facebook, Yelp, and Instagram. It's the largest and kind of best growing social networking platform for people who do jiu-jitsu. We're located in over like 96 countries, basically all areas of the world. We have over 30,000 users, about 12,000 registered academies. And, it's basically, if you just want to nerd out in your jiu-jitsu, all you want to see is jiu-jitsu, people training, pictures of them, videos, jiu-jitsu events, news, jiu-jitsu companies. BJJ Link Connect is the platform for you.
Okay, let's stop here for a second, okay? Because I have questions. As a social media guy who loves jiu-jitsu, let's say I go on there, right? What do you think that I am most likely going to share? Is it going to be like a training photo, or is it a technique, or what are you finding most people are sharing the most on your platform? Because what I want to do is I want to highlight why you guys versus what we already have. Because the best way to get people who are tired of the same things you're tired of is to identify, less of that, more of this. So that's what I want to know. What are you seeing the most of in your side?
Yeah, I think what we see the most of is, people just kind of showing off their passion for jiu-jitsu, right? Posting themselves training, posting videos of them doing a technique. Maybe they're uploading that technique for other people to see, or they just want to, upload and kind of see if we get some hits. But a lot of the things that we do or that we see on BJJ Connect that people are utilizing is kind of the we call the My Training feature, which is basically you can log in all your training. You can check into your academy, record your attendance. I came to no-gi this day, gi this day. I did 4 rounds. I got submitted twice, or I did 3 sweeps. We give you like that data so you can kind of view and see like the progress of your jiu-jitsu if that's something you really want to look at, and especially when you look at high-level guys and people who want to take jiu-jitsu to that next step, where you have to kind of look back at yourself and really say, okay, cool, how is my jiu-jitsu? What is it right now? How can I improve it? People like to see that, right? They like to see, am I getting submitted lesson training? Am I hitting the sweeps that I want to hit? Am I submitting more people? Am I, maybe last month I only was able to do 4 rounds in a session, but now I can do 6. My cardio is going up. So we see a lot of them using that, where they can just log in the details about themselves, their training, and then, share other aspects with that, with whoever else is on the platform, right? You can, we call it linking with people from your academy, people from all over the world. Maybe some dude from South America follows me, or some dude from Europe follows me. And, maybe I send them a message and I'm interested. I'm going to be vacationing out there. And I'm like, hey, bro, you don't know me. I don't really know you, but I'm going to be training kind of near your area. You got an open mat, or you got an academy I can visit? And, they'll shoot a message back to you. You guys can confer with each other, get some things going. And now, instead of kind of having to be, oh, I don't really know where I am in Europe, and I don't really know if there's any jiu-jitsu near me, I can find someone on BJ Link. I know that they do jiu-jitsu, because why else would they be on this platform? I can see that they go to this academy. I can see that academy schedule, see their website, contact form, and so forth, right? So it just gives you a whole plethora of jiu-jitsu resources for you to access really at any time, while giving you that opportunity to just share your jiu-jitsu with the world.
Okay, cool. More questions. I recognize now that this is the wrong person to tell all this information to, because I'm a huge stats nerd for this stuff. Just to give you an idea, one time one of the guys was getting ready for a competition, and I got some of the tape study, and I literally was trying to identify something to him, and he didn't believe me. And I go, okay, you passed guard 15 times. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay. And I go, remember how I said pull guard so that we could work pulled guard options? And he was like, we did. I go, if you're passing guard and you aren't sweeping, how did we get there?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, and I go, no, the data says this. So you're speaking to a guy who's like, go on, because to me, those are things that I've done. And I've worked with other people in the past who have created like a jiu-jitsu journal-esque sort of a thing. And it's hard to keep up with, but I've really recently engrossed our group of people in our Discord. So I've tried to create a Discord that has different elements to it, and it's still in its infancy. So I have a very different approach, which is I like sharing stuff about the show. Mm-hmm. And then the hard part about that is I don't want to just make it about the athletes that come on the show. I want people to talk about their own experiences. Definitely. The hard part is my demo base is very used to, tell us who you're interviewing. Mm-hmm. I might have a question. And you go, okay, well, it's finding a happy medium between the two and saying like, hey, so we developed what I called like a question of the day, where I would like put something out there and I would just be like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Mm-hmm. Because to me, I'm like, I know what I think of it, but I don't want to just create memes or tell you guys what I think every day. This is good intel. And then sometimes it informs like, oh, that's actually a good point. I never thought of it like that. So I've tried to use that as both something that my brand can do, while at the same time still searching out and figuring out like, what do you guys like? What do you want to do? So I can understand that social media approach from a different level. And I know it's a very difficult thing to do, but when you get people engaged, oh my God, they don't want to shut up.
Yep.
So it's a fine line between like when they start hitting me up and I'm like, I just asked a question. I don't know what I meant by it, but okay, great. So I love that. What I want to know is, have you seen people use that data? And have they told you, have they given you any feedback on what they've done with that data? Because as somebody who's not a competitor, if I was a competitor, it would have equal weight to me as tape study. Like, it would be like not doing your homework. So when you get athletes who say, oh, I don't do tape study, I'm like, how? You're a professional. You should be doing some form, if not on your opponents, on how to strengthen yourself. But a lot of people are just like, I just get in there and I feel, man. And you go, okay, but this is a profession.
Yeah, definitely.
So what has been the feedback on just that? Because I know it does other things as well, but what has been the feedback on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously for competitors it's very valuable, but even for normal people, I mean, as humans, we're very goal oriented. We like to feel like we're achieving things and, you know, kind of progressing toward things. It's just in our human nature. And you can see that with a lot of things in the world. So I think giving people that opportunity to where, hey, if you want to just simply record you going to training and that's it, cool, do it. Or if you want to go in and really put, again, I got to side control 4 times, or this guy submitted me with this move, or I spent 10 minutes on this position, you can do so. So you can really nerd out on it. You can really get all that information in there. And, you know, we give you some graphs, some analytics to look at. You can see how many minutes you've been training, you know, year to date, or how total, you know, how many countries have you visited with your check-ins, right? Because, you know, hey, if you checked in an academy in Europe or, you know, you checked in an academy in South America, you know, that's 2 different locations where you've gone to now. So, yeah, I think the benefit for really anybody is that, you know, if you just want to improve your own jiu-jitsu, maybe you're just tired of losing, or you're just tired of, you know, being beat up by the same guy, you know, that one notorious purple belt that just ankle locks you all day. Sure. You can go in there and kind of see, okay, cool, maybe I should start putting some information about myself and kind of see, okay, like you said, right, I pull guard so much, maybe I should start passing guard, or maybe, you know, instead of playing top so much, I should play bottom, and kind of see how that does. You know, maybe, cool, I can see that my submissions have been growing in numbers, you know, since I've been doing that, or I'm getting submitted less, you know, just based on that data that I'm putting in. So, you know, like, again, most humans, we just like to feel like we're doing good at something, that we're, you know, progressing towards something, no matter what it is. And I think that's kind of what people have been seeing the biggest benefit for.
That's cool. You had me at charts because I love me some charts. And, you know, I'm getting rid of a lot of old paperwork in my house. So I've been shredding stuff and going through important papers and not important papers. And I had always wondered, I was like, where did I get this disease from? Like, where did I become so obsessed with this stuff? My dad, when I used to play baseball, would actually keep records. Okay. So he'd be doing like analytics and scores. So he would be writing it down. And I posted one of the photos, and one of the buddies of the show, he looked at it and he just goes, damn, Raph, he was like, you were batting with 383? And I was like, yeah, it was a pretty good year for me. And he's like, and you had this RBI record and you had this? And I was like, I mean, sure. But he was telling me, he's like, how did you have all this? I was like, my dad did it. I go, and he kept a golf journal. Like, golf was his jiu-jitsu to me, kind of a thing. And he had journals dating back to his very first day of golfing.
Oh, wow.
So when somebody mentions something like this, there is a natural curiosity for me, because I go, oh, is somebody else doing this for me? Because if that's the case, you mean to tell me I plug in this data and then I get a chart if I so want one? That to me is very appealing. And there, have you charted your own stuff? And what have you found is the most surprising for yourself in doing that, if you have?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely use it just to record my training. And especially if I'm prepping for a competition, right? I just want to see maybe certain areas that I don't even realize, you know, subconsciously that I'm doing, right? Like, maybe, you know, I've been playing too much bottom or playing too much top. I think one of the surprising things that I've seen is that I get submitted a lot more than I would, you know, hope to. Just like, you know, a lot of us, right? We like to feel like, you know, okay, you know, I'm submitting people, or I'm doing pretty well. So I think that's a good reflection, right? Okay, cool. Like, you know, these last 3 classes, I got submitted 6 times by these different moves, you know, or I see a trend. I keep getting submitted by the same person, by the same move. And maybe without this, I would have never really given it a second thought. But when you see that number increasing, you're like, okay, Noah, you know, something's going on here. You need to fix something. So I think that's probably been the best benefit for me, you know, especially trying to make it as a jiu-jitsu athlete. It's just seeing those areas to improve, right? You know, things I need to work on, things I'm already good at. Are the numbers going up? Are they going down? And, you know, just so forth with that.
That's very cool. And honestly, if you are looking at it as a professional athlete, there's definitely that moment that you could look at that data and say, like, you know what, I have to positionally train from here. Like, that's the thing I've got to concentrate on. Or, oh no, this is not what I thought it would be. Like, I didn't think this was my main move. There have been a couple times where a couple of my friends would be like, hey, you can't do this move. And I go, why? Then I like look at the footage a little bit later. I was like, oh, that's the one move I've been doing. Uh-oh. Yeah, I should probably not.
A little too much. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're right. I'll pull back. So I always like to tell people, you know, I create little mini games for our friends here. And the reason why I've done that is I've told people over the years, I think I come from the mentality, if you're trying to be a very good athlete or you're very much in ownership of your training, you can find ways to make the best out of the training room you have.
Definitely.
And I think sometimes people get obsessed with, I need to be training with Gary Tonin. I need to be training with this person. You're like, absolutely, they'll make you better. But most of your time is going to be used as the dummy for them to get better.
Yeah.
If you take ownership of it, and maybe you're in that room or maybe you're not, you can pull great things out of a blue belt. You just have to really be smart about how you train and what you expect out of them. So when you have analytics like this, I think, in my experience, it has helped to use those in ways that then make it more challenging for yourself. So you say, hey, listen, you know, a lot of the guys will be really mad at me because they'll be like, hey, why'd you let me pass your guard? I was like, because I want to get to step 2. I could stop you, I'm sure, but I don't want to waste 2 minutes. I want you to pass, so I work this specific escape that I'm doing. And so after a while, they're like, I'm really tired of you doing this. I'm really mad about this. And I was like, well, be better at jiu-jitsu then. Like, shut up. You don't have to do what I'm giving you, but just know it's a good thing for you to do this. So I've learned over the years that, you know, if you explain yourself a little bit, and maybe before a roll, you can tell one of your good training partners and say, like, hey, I'm looking to work this today. Do whatever you want to do. And the worst thing that I do continuously is I'll tell people, like, this is exactly what will beat me today. And they'll be like, yeah. And I go, just do that. You'll probably tap me. And they go, okay. And I'm like, I'm not some sort of wizard that can get out of every arm bar. But maybe this particular setup will kill me. And I feel like I pull the best out of my guys so that anytime, you know, I roll with somebody or I have a great day, I'm able to text them and be like, hey, that's you. Like, that's ownership that you have in my game as well. So I feel like those little tools are great. My hope is we don't use AI for stupid things, but that we use AI for things that might help us input that data faster. Like, it'll be dope if AI could watch the way I roll and just be like, hey man, you passed guard 3 times, and be like, yes, I didn't have to rewatch it.
That'd be pretty nice.
The only thing that comes from that is I do wonder, flip side of that, if the rewatching of me doing it is part of the process that helps me learn faster. So I don't know where we're at, but I definitely, like, when people are like, AI sucks, I was like, yes, in general, but if you know how to use it, it can be a tool for certain things. It's just everybody has different needs. So that's why it's everybody's up in arms about it.
Totally agree.
But as a creative person, AI better not be writing my scripts. So fuck you, dude. So there's
We're
that.
on to you, AI.
The streets, they're aware of what's going on with you, buddy. They know. I just always laugh at that meme that's like Sarah Connor watching you become friends with Skynet, essentially. And like, oh yeah, that's very funny to me. So I love that you've done this. It's now, how long have you been working with BJJ Link? How long has it been in operation?
So we started in November 18th of 2018. And you know, now it's 2023. So going on just over 5 years, almost 5 years. And you know, it's my full-time thing alongside with training jiu-jitsu and competing. So, you know, just working on the business, focusing on that. And whenever I'm not doing that, I'm, you know, in the gym training, strength training as well. And yeah, you know, I have the passion for both, right? You know, if I really didn't like business or if it was just a chore to me, I honestly wouldn't be doing it. You know, I maybe would have just given it up. So, I have the love for both. You know, I see myself as a, you know, business person. I'm creating something for the jiu-jitsu community that people are, you know, actually using, are finding a benefit for. And it allows me to love my own jiu-jitsu training, compete as much as I want, help, expose the brand as well. So I think they both honestly have just kind of married each other into like the best forms for me.
Have you guys ventured into the instructional areas? And if so, what are you looking to do in that space? Because I feel like it's not that it's saturated. It's just that it's such a competitive market where people have an advantage on it. But it sounds like a natural integration where, this could be a means because an infrastructure is there for people who are athletes who are looking to use that. So is that one of the features that you guys have on it?
Yeah, actually we do. It's one of the newest additions to our platform, what we call BJLink Elevate. And to put it plainly, we like to see it as the jiu-jitsu content marketplace. Like you said, right? The instructional industry for jiu-jitsu is not really saturated, but everybody knows the big dogs. BJ Fanatics, Jiu-Jitsu X, Submetas, another one coming up. And, kind of the style of those, right? It's long form instructionals. BJ Fanatics open it up, so now you can kind of make your own BJ Fanatics instructional. But again, it's like that chapter style, long form content. You kind of have to film it, or I think you could probably ask them to film it too if you're like a high level athlete. Similar stuff for Jiu-Jitsu X. I think they're like a little bit more trendier in terms of like the titles they put out and stuff. But for us, obviously being aware of that, and we don't want to copy things and fall into that same rut. Like we want to be successful as well and kind of give something unique to the jiu-jitsu athlete that they don't already have. So we decided to make a content marketplace instead, where we give you the tools that you can make short form content like reels. You can make long form content. You can make free videos. You can bundle videos together and sell them. Put your own price points, make your own art for it, film it the way you want. If you want to shoot on an iPhone, go for it. If you want to hire someone to come in and, get a professional camera and make you look cool, go for it too. And our goal with it is that we provide you with a lot of the tools, the resources, and it's up to you how you want to utilize that. Are you going to put in the work to make these videos, to market them appropriately to whatever demographics they're hitting? Are you going to find the price points that work? Are you going to tease people with some written content first and a free video and then kind of loop them in for the paid stuff? And one of our biggest unique identifiers with that is our profit share. And we like to be very transparent about this stuff. We don't really believe in like gatekeeping prices and kind of keeping people out of the loop. We do an 80-20 split. So 80% of your revenue as an athlete goes back to you. We only keep 20%. For these other bigger platforms, from what we've heard, they're kind of more 50-50 split. And the reason why we give the athletes so much is because, well, they're the ones doing the most work on our platform. We're not going to be here coming out to you to film it. We're not going to make the art for you. We have that as like an additional service, right? If you want to pay for that. But again, it's up to you how you utilize those tools, right? You could be someone in Brazil, who wants to make videos and sell it to his friends or to your academy. Maybe you teach a class and cool. You decide to go ahead, use your phone to make them, maybe edit them on your own time, see what people want to see and, make some money off of that, right? I think that's something a lot of jiu-jitsu athletes want to do. They want to feel like they can make something out of jiu-jitsu, especially, a monetary value. And we want to give anybody that chance, right? You don't have to be the highest level athlete out there. You don't have to be winning 100 tournaments a year. If you have maybe an audience or a group of friends or people that just like the stuff that you do and you want to make some content for them, maybe even sell it to them, go ahead and do it. We're going to provide you with that platform. And another thing we also offer that we haven't really seen with these like instructional based kind of industry stuff is that we give you the chance to sell paid virtual privates as well. So if you have a name, right, and people want to schedule time to, maybe 30 minutes to ask you some questions on how you do a technique, or an hour to just come train with you, you can actually set up a schedule private with that person. You put the price, maybe for 30 minutes, it's $30. For an hour, it's $50. Again, you could put your own price and, you can pay for those people can pay for those privates. That goes all directly to your account. And, you could even sell them along with, again, your stuff, the techniques that you're selling. You can even create flow charts as well for yourself or for other people to help visualize the things that you're teaching. So again, we give you that marketplace, we give you those tools, and it's really up to you as the athlete, as the jiu-jitsu person coming onto there. How are you going to utilize it? And if you're going to put in the work, you're going to see the money.
I feel like I've seen charts that have come from BJJ Link in my time. So, it's always weird because as somebody who tries to source what I see so much, like the journalism training is strong in me where I go, all right, I'm giving you guys 5 minutes to tell me where this comes from. And if I can't see it on there, like I've yelled at people who make memes where I'm like, where's your watermark?
Yeah.
I don't want to share this unless I know who made it because I want other people to know who makes it. But after that 5 minutes, I'm like, the internet works too fast. Here it is. I don't know where I got it.
Yeah.
But I've seen people brand it with that. What I do want to point out is this, and this is just an observation. I don't know how accurate this is on both ends, but it sounds like from the BJJ Fanatics model, it was product first and then a community built around that. For you guys have built a community that now is branching into other services that are natural integrations and natural progressions. So the ability to do something like a instructional now has the added benefit of you don't have to go on another program to market it. You've already, if you've done your work, you've already created a brand. So you don't have to go to an Instagram. This is also a social media component with it. So it's less clicks where people are like, if you see somebody on an instructional, if it's not Craig Jones and a funny name, you're probably not going to their instructional unless you really want to know one or two specific techniques.
Yeah.
And even then for the athletes, sometimes it's like, I don't really like their half guard.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy this one. At least with this one, there's an added incentive of maybe you see a little free video, but it stays on the site. It keeps you on the site. And then it just keeps you on another aspect, another tree branch on that site. And I think that's something that other platforms are now trying to reverse engineer, which is we had product first, now community.
Yeah.
And what it sounds like is if somebody is very savvy as an athlete, they can build a community, see what that like market intel and research is from the people that they're interacting with. And then if they want to leverage that into, hey, now I'm giving you a product or now I'm offering privates. And I'm sure with a scheduler, it makes things a little bit easier than, hey, I can get on a phone with you and FaceTime you. At least this way, it's like, hey, here's my times. I'll get an email. You'll get a note. We get a time that we're kind of agreeing to it that keeps things perhaps a little bit more organized.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's, you put it the best way, right? We wanted to create that community aspect first. And, those platforms work together, connect and elevate. And, like you said, right, as an athlete, you can kind of test the waters, see what your followers like, what they don't like, what they latch onto. And then from there, if you want to start making the content, sell it to them or, give them some freebies, for your like OG followers, you can do that, right? So, we think that's kind of the best approach is building that community, building that trust with yourself as a follower and, whoever you're following. And then, make advantage of that. If you want to, jump into making instructionals, making content, see what works, see what doesn't, scheduling privates, you already know, okay, cool. I already have this dedicated group of 200 people that follow me. They like what I do already. So, let's see what I can do with that.
Yeah, I always laugh because, pro wrestling is a huge thing for our fan base. So, I've over the years shown people that I can hit pro wrestling moves when I roll. And they're always like, you should do something with that. And I was like, no.
Please no.
And I go, I do it as a gag and it's funny and it's an occasional good video. And I want to be like, no better way that would demonstrate that than by putting this on there. And other than being like, hey, here's the demo. The videos will do well. But then if I go, I would like you to pay me for this, people are going to be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that you now give me another resource where I can tell people like, I know my demo pretty well. And I know they love the videos and I know they love the funny humor that we add to it. But that of the many things I think I can monetize, I don't think that's the one. But
hey, you might find that one person that likes it,
Well, here's the thing. We know there's a base because they've followed us and they submit videos for our yearly thing that we do, but they do it under the guise that it's for fun and a humorous thing.
Definitely. But
But I think the moment you're like, my Boston Crab instructional is coming out later this year. It will be $59. But if you act now, you can get it for $49. And they're going to be like, I can only think of 5 ways to doing it. And I'm like, I've got a few other ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you just kind of tell people that.
Yeah.
But it does sound like a very humorous way so that people who really, really do approach this craft and maybe don't have the means to be that massive marketing machine, there is nothing more cost effective, from my experience, than building a brand out of honesty and building and growing an honest audience and saying, here's something that I think I provide. And trying to narrow that down amongst the noise is very difficult to do. But if you've already got a base that all shows up because they geek out on jiu-jitsu, you do stand a little bit more of a chance of reaching those people. So, if I was that guy, I would be that guy, but I'm not that instructor. So it's good to know those things, but I know a lot of people who are trying to do that. So I would always be happy to recommend that as an opportunity for them. And I think more and more people will expand upon a wonderful base that you've already put together. So that sounds really, really dope.
Yeah, thank you.
What has been the most fulfilling thing of doing it so far? Because you mentioned 96 countries. I get surprised half the time when people respond even on these interviews because I forget. And in the many years of doing verbal tap in this, we had people who were like, yo, we love how funny you are. And I had to translate that from a different language. And I go, yeah, oh shit. And then you look at the analytics and I'm like, we have a decent following in Brazil? Why? Yeah. So what has been one of the more fulfilling things to you so far about the business?
Probably the most fulfilling thing is just knowing that the things that we're creating, that we're doing, is having, some sort of impact on the community, right? No matter how small it is, how big it is, someone out there likes what we do, whether it's the instructional stuff, the social media stuff, the data stuff, that has like a real application for the jiu-jitsu community. So, it gives you that sense of fulfillment, right? That I'm actually doing something good here and something that's, improving the jiu-jitsu community and, hopefully the ways that we wanted to. So that's always been the biggest thing. That's the biggest reason that I do it. Is that it's just, I feel good doing it. I feel good creating these products, making these ideas for the jiu-jitsu community, evolving things online for jiu-jitsu, right? A lot of jiu-jitsu has been kept on paper and pencil and kind of very archaic. And we're just starting to see that shift to the more online methods and just kind of that, digital aspect of jiu-jitsu. So I think being in that space itself and kind of really seeing the impacts on people, right? That maybe, we actually have our second biggest following is in Brazil, as well as South America and Central Europe. So, seeing people randomly that just like what we do, sending us messages and, like same thing, right? Having to translate, like, oh, okay, there's some guy from Latvia that just likes what we do. That's cool. I'll hit him up for an open mat if I'm ever there, I guess. I think that's the most rewarding thing out of it. Just seeing that we're making some sort of change and, someone else identifies it and, they like what we do.
Good for you guys. That's awesome to see. And the hardest part is I just always assume because there's a comedy element to what we do that being a fan is not the number one response always. And more often than not, it is actually very nice. So there is that moment where you, like, especially when I look at something, I go, that has a lot of accent marks. That could be very angry. Yeah. Let's see what's going on here. And then you translate it. It's like, I've never seen something so good. And you go, oh, it's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you. Translate. Add.
Exactly.
Comment. Share. I think. I don't know. So it did open up the door one time where I was like, oh, I do not have their form of humor in the way that we do. So my thing is just to be very sincere back.
Yeah.
And just go,
exactly.
I'm hoping for the best. But if they're like being sarcastic to me, I'm going to be like, I will not know the difference in a different language. Exactly. So I'm going to take it at face level.
Yeah.
So there is that. Noah, this has been really cool to get to hear about BJJ Link, your experiences, the origin story, a little bit more about Subversive. I would like to ask this because we are starting to round third on this. What is it that you're looking to do as a competitor? So now you're hitting a pretty good age where you're 24, you're the seasoned vet of somebody who's been around the game for a long time. Like, where do you see goals in your jiu-jitsu career? And what are some of the things that you're looking to do in the near future?
Yeah, right now with my jiu-jitsu, I started doing both gi and no gi right from the bat, but honestly, ever since I got my brown belt, I've kind of been more just transitioning to the no gi side of things. I think it just works well for my game. And basically for most of this year specifically, I've been training no gi and kind of really just seeing my success in that. So I I think competition wise and just career wise, no-gi is just kind of more my style, and I'm really trying to expand that. And like I said, as a high level athlete, any opportunity that I get to go out and showcase my jiu-jitsu, I'm going to take, right? Obviously if there's money behind it, that's even a better thing. But, I think when there's a platform and people can see what you're going to do and it's just going to get your name out there, sign me up. I'll do it. So, this upcoming weekend, Jiu-Jitsu Con is happening. I'll be there doing the no-gi division. No-gi Pan Ams is one of the bigger ones on the radar. End of September, going to be preparing for that a lot. But the biggest one is definitely the East Coast Trials coming up in October. That's definitely the biggest thing I have, just not even being an ADCC champion, but just being able to be in ADCC, I think would be just a huge honor and just a huge goal of mine that I've had for such a long time. Going to test out my luck at the East Coast Trials. I did West Coast Trials 2 years ago. Made it to the third round, couldn't get past that, but I think at this point I've learned a lot more. I've been improving a lot with my techniques, my game, and now that I'm at Art of Jiu-Jitsu, I've just been seeing my own game skyrocket. So I'm really excited to kind of test that out, keep seeing how far I can go in the jiu-jitsu competition world. And obviously a lot of people, they want to get that IBJJF World title medal, ADCC title medal, and I definitely want that too. But at the end of the day, I just really like seeing how good I am compared to other people and how far can I really push that. So for me, it's just go compete, take it back with you, fix it, go compete again, see what happens. I'm honestly addicted to competing. I compete about 2 to 3 times every month sometimes. You can ask some of my friends. It's kind of crazy how much stuff I sign up for, whether it's small or big. I just like going out there and testing myself. And I think that just helps my own game, as a professional athlete, just seeing, even guys at a smaller tournament, you don't know who it is, right? And they might catch you on something that you've never even seen before, or just things you've never even thought about or ever been put in. So, I love to compete. Those are going to be the main ones. Obviously, no-gi Worlds at the end of the year as well. Just kind of just growing myself. And, I want to be a high-level athlete. And for me, honestly, it's not that am I going to be a high-level athlete? I think it's just more, what's the time? How long is it going to take? And, it eventually is going to happen. I just got to keep putting the work in for it.
Good on you, man. That's a very good perspective. I always like to tell people, I think making it to ADCC, you do that goal, and then you find once you're there, it's now I want to win. Mm-hmm. But I think that you're doing it in progress, which is, yeah, of course, if I'm there, I want to win.
Exactly.
But let's start with step 1. Yeah. How about I qualify? Mm-hmm. Or someone admires the work or the stretch that I do and says, all right, here's your Willy Wonka ticket, which is not a guarantee. Mm-hmm. So you look at those things and you go, I'm more likely going to have to qualify. And if that's the case, it's a lot of people, but we can do this.
7 rounds to get to
Absolutely.
it. But,
it can be done. It's fine. But I like the idea that you're putting yours in increments, which is, let's get to the dance. And then once we get to the dance, you get that extra confidence. And then I think more than anything for ADCC in particular is getting invited there changes your perspective of, oh man, it'd be cool to belong one day too. Now I belong. All right, now I have to be at JT Torres level. Shit.
Now that's the minimum now. So now I gotta start exceeding that.
Yeah. So. And I think the nice part is, given what I have seen about your game, it is in a very good place. You're 24, you're young, you're in a good level where you need to be. And adding these competition experiences is only going to increase that hunger. So, just keep with it. Great team to be a part of. And, even after 1 year, I'm already looking forward to what they're going to be able to put into you going forward. So that's really good stuff, sir. So I want to give you an opportunity. I mean, I know that we talked a little bit about the business and the brand, but it's not just the business and the brand. I want to give you an opportunity. That's your camera right there, sir. Go ahead and shout out anybody that you want to who's been helping you get ready for these competitions, or any sponsors that you want to take care of. And that is you, sir. The floor is yours.
Obviously, shout out to the AJ team. Thank you guys for welcoming me. It's been a great year. Obviously, looking forward to many more. Other than that, Jiu-Jitsu, they're my main sponsor for my gear, basically anything Jiu-Jitsu related. Been with them for a lot of years, and they always support me. So thank you to Jiu-Jitsu, as well as Phase Water and Foxhound Fuel. They cover me on the water aspects and the supplements, making sure that I'm not passing out during training, that I'm getting my electrolytes, recovering properly. Obviously, a huge aspect of being being an athlete. So thank you, Phase Water. Thank you, Foxhound Fuel, for keeping me alive when I train. And other than that, just thank you everybody who's watching. I really appreciate you guys, listening to the stuff I had to tell.
It's very funny. I just realized all your friends are very similar to our friends. Foxhound Fuel, love those guys. And Jiu-Jitsu, I have to say this, probably the best shorts.
I would agree. 100%.
Legitimately, like, I wanted to do this summer. Was it even last summer? I wanted to do a bracketed competition of who has the best shorts in jiu-jitsu, because I'm a little bit of a stickler. And I think they have to be a certain kind of mid-level length. I don't want them too short. I don't want them too basketball long.
Yeah, same here.
And like with Jiu-Jitsu, like one of my homies, he kept being like, have you ever had a pair for yourself? And I was like, yeah, no, I haven't. And he goes, get some. And I go, okay.
Worth the investment.
Oh my God. I wore them. And I was on a phase of like, I want to see who in this bracket could beat Jiu-Jitsu. I was like, I would seed them high.
Yeah.
But that's something I'm going to do at some point in the future, where I'm going to get people to like send me stuff. Because there are a couple other brands that I'm like, they're kind of a sneaker. Like they kind of come in. I don't know. A lot of people will fuck with this brand, but like they're pretty good. But the same thing with Jiu-Jitsu. I was like, oh man, I think they got to be the
beat
one
them, honestly.
So big shout out to those folks. Not that I want free shorts, but if you did it, I wouldn't complain. So I'm just saying.
You heard him here.
Exactly. I'm just, listen, guys, I just glowingly talked about you. Stranger things have happened, but keep up the good work. I very much like it. And the designs are clean, which always makes me very happy, because there have been some great shorts and I'm like, I don't like this design all that much.
Yeah, it's a little too pink here.
The color's not my color, but they feel nice. So anyway, all right. Well, here's the good news. In a few minutes, you and I are going to get to train, and I'm very excited to get to learn a little bit more up front on your game. I will definitely be visiting BJJ Link now that I know a lot more about it, and I will definitely recommend that to my friends. No, I appreciate you making the trek up. You're good people, sir. And I'm just going to tell you guys right over here. No, this way. Look at me. Thank you for watching. Couple reminders. Number one, if you can do us a solid, HY.PAGE/Grappling Hour. Become a member of this community. Very simple, $5 a month. Super simple. You see the interviews 30 days before anybody else. And if you pay a few extra dollars more, premium members, extra bonus episodes, rolling content, you name it. Like, I give you guys what you want. Even if you want to roast some of my shit, go for it. Don't even care. But there's going to be additional focus on that coming up in the next month. So don't be surprised, especially if you see some highlights of somebody playing a certain video game over here, because that's good stuff. So I just want to make sure that you guys are doing that. You can join our Discord as well. We always like to have conversation with our friends and fans on the show. And I got to be honest with you, now it's like inspiring to see other people creating a community, and it always makes you want to do more for your own community, and we will. And if you made it this far, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Boom, 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 boom. That's not where the buttons are, but just imagine that's where they are. And if you made it this far and you didn't comment, dick move. Listen, we've been here for a bit. What I want to tell you, though, is even if you didn't love the interview and you stayed for whatever reason, you're doing dishes, you're cleaning the house, tell us your favorite jiu-jitsu move to hit this week. If I literally get to the end of this and it just says heel hook, I'd be like, great. That works as engagement. So I ain't mad at it, but thank you guys so much for watching. It has been a great day for grappling. We'll see you guys back on the mats.